All right. Good afternoon, everybody. I'm just going to assume you all can hear me. Hopefully, everybody had a great weekend. So, just want to go over a few quick ground rules before we get started. So, number one, I am coming at you live from my house, um, and you know things can be going on. My dog might bark or something like that. So, bear with me. I may have to go settle her down, or the package gets delivered, or something like that. Number two, I'm only going to be answering questions that are asked during the office hours. So if you came in here and asked a question over the weekend or something like that, and you're here, go ahead and just repost your question on there. Go and copy and paste it, put it up above there. It's not that I didn't want to answer your question. It's just that I want to make sure that I'm answering questions live for the people that are here to see them get answered. It's more likely that they'll be here to see it get answered if I'm answering the questions that are posted during the office hours. And then lastly, if you ask a question that can be easily answered or easily answered by a specific video or a course on the website, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to steer you in the direction of that. So an example of that would be, how do I fix my slice? Well, I'm going to send you to our Never Slice Again section and start and get you on there working through those drills to fix your slice rather than taking a long time to go through it on here. So let's go ahead and get started here. I will start with let's start with Michael A's question. So if you asked a question before Michael A, so Jim W, if you asked a question before that, go ahead and repost it on here so that I know that you're here, and then we'll get it answered. So Michael A says, can you show me a drill for shoulder drop to hit from the inside, please? So first of all, I mean, swinging from the inside, it's not necessarily a drop of the shoulders kind of thing. It's more of just making sure that you're in a more angled away position. So if I grab a club here. So if you go up to the top of the swing and you're like this, you're leaning toward the target at the top of the swing. When your shoulder comes down, you're going to tend to want to go out. You're going to tend to want to go in this action. Whereas if you're more angled away, your shoulder's going to tend to want to go down and more from an inside position. So that's why I'd be looking at stable fluid spine section, working through there, making sure that you're nice and angled away at the top of the swing. You know, the overall angle of your torso, that's going to be basically level two of the stable fluid spine section, working through those drills, making sure that you're nice and angled away. The other thing is staying in your posture. So if you stand up in the backswing, meaning your shoulders get leveled out, where are you going to tend to want to go from here? You're going to tend to want to go out. Whereas if you stay in, like here, your shoulders are going to tend to want to stay down and through, especially if you're more in that angled away position. So if you're up here, your shoulders are going to tend to want to go out. If you're down here, your shoulders are going to be in that steep position that's going to allow you to swing from the inside. So I'd be looking at that as well. There's a great drill on the website. You put the club across your shoulders, and you go to the top of the swing. That you want that butt end of the club to be pointed down toward the ball, and then swinging through, you want the butt end of the club pointed down toward the ball. So I've just searched shoulder to shoulder on the website. If you're ever looking for a specific video on something specific on the website, just search shoulder to shoulder, or use the search engine, and you can search shoulder to shoulder to find that drill I'm talking about, where you're staying. That helps you stay in your posture a little bit better. So in the upper right-hand corner of pretty much every page on the website, there is a search bar there. Go ahead and click that and search whatever you want. You'll be able to find tons of videos on it. All right, so Malik says, hello, I was watching Canadian Open yesterday, and a detailed video analysis of Rory's swing, congratulations, was made by Peter Costas. I know Clay talks about dropping the club, but this was not happening with his swing, at least separately. He was actually squatting, as it were, and the club dropped in tandem with his body. That is as a result of the body beginning his downward or forward. Do you have a question, Malik, or are you just kind of sharing what Peter Kostas's analysis was? If you have a question about that, let me know. But basically, that's pretty much what almost all tour players are doing. Is you're going to see them kind of get in a little bit more of a squatted position as they're coming down. You may see it referred to as a tiger squat or a Sneed squat. But basically, some players do it a little bit more pronounced than others. But basically, as we're getting to our lead side, we're getting in this kind of position right here, where we're moving forward. And as soon as we feel this pressure in the ground there, you're using that to open up the body. So you're really pushing down and out into the ground to rotate your body open as you're coming through there. And that's how you get everything really rotating through. So there's a great drill on the website, the Kick the Clutch video, where Clay talks about getting to that lead side and then really pushing to rotate the body open. That's exactly what Rory is doing. With the club like a clothes hanger video from the compression line section. It's exactly, I think even Clay shows an example of Rory McIlroy in that video. So I'd be checking out those videos if you want to learn more about that. But that's essentially what's going on. Is you're getting to your lead side, you're in. Your legs just aren't straight because you're not going to be very athletic when you do that. You kind of get in a squatted position so that you can use the ground. Because if think about it, if my legs are just dead straight like that, I'm not going to be able to be very athletic here. So I want to get a little bit of flex in my legs so that I can really use the ground and push. If my leg is already straight, then I can't really straighten it out to push. So if I have some flex in my leg, now I can really push this up and back. Whereas if I'm straight, I can really only kind of slide or kind of slide my hips open. That's about all I can do. So you want to have some flex in those legs as you're coming down, so that way you can push into the ground and rotate your body open. Todd H says, I need detail on the release. Is it rolling the arms through impact, firing the wrist with the hand ahead of the ball, or is it both? I would say it's definitely both. You're definitely doing some rolling of the hands for sure. The club if you don't roll the hands over, the club just stays open, right? So you got to roll the hands over a little bit to get that club face to square up and also get that toe to come around. So there's definitely that. The hands are coming in front of the golf ball for sure. If you're wanting more on the release, I would definitely be taking a look at our straight line release section. When we talk about the release, the main thing that's really, really important is you want that to be releasing out in front. So after impact, you want that club to be releasing out in front. When we talk about the release, that's what the release means, is where the club is splitting the forearms. So if you watch here, I'm coming through impact, and my club here is splitting my forearms right in the middle. What you see with a lot of amateur players is that's happening about right here, just in front of impact. When you see the tour players, it's happening out here, and that's a result of getting forward shaft lane at impact, because their shaft is like this at impact, and then it releases out in front. What you see with amateurs is the club is like this. It's pretty close to straight up and down, basically kind of like in this position, and then it releases about right there. So what we need to do is we need to get this club face squaring earlier and shallowed out, and then we need to rotate into impact. Excuse me. Rotate into impact so we can have forward shaft lean, and that club can release out in front. So I'd be looking at the move section, straight line release. If you're casting the club, you're not going to be able to release that club out in front. So I'd be looking at all those pieces, looking at your swing and seeing what pieces you need to work on. You got to look at your swing on camera. That's really a big thing. If you're wanting to work on technique, you really can't do it without looking at your swing on camera, because you have no idea what you're doing. Feel isn't always real. Excuse me. Feel isn't always real. So we have to look at what's going on camera to see, because the camera is not going to lie to you. It's going to tell you exactly what's going on there. So as far as to kind of summarize your question, yes, your hands are rolling through impact. Some people, they roll a little bit more than others. There's no right or wrong way to do it. It's more about, is the club face square and do you have forward shaft lean? That's really the main things that really matter there. The closure rate, the way that degrees per second, the amount that your face closes as it's coming through impact, the rate in which that closes, that's really there's no specific number that is perfect for everybody. You're going to get a little bit more speed if you're faster, but you could be less consistent because the face is going from open to closed more quickly. So it's all about kind of finding that happy medium that gives you the best results. But what I'd be looking at is just making sure that you're getting that club face square at impact and you're getting that to release out in front. And you'd be looking at several pieces to help you do that. Your spine angles have got to be good. You can't be vertical at impact and expect to be able to release the club out in front. It's just your body is just not in a position to be able to do it. Your body's got to be opening up at least some. For some people, it's less than others, but it needs to be opened up some. If you're coming into impact and your hips and shoulders and everything are just dead square at impact, you're almost guaranteed to flip the club. It's going to be very, very difficult to not flip the club. And then, you want to make sure that you're getting some lag. If you are casting from the top, releasing from the top, almost guaranteed to flip. If you are coming down steep, we're looking from this position, from down the line. If this shaft is pretty vertical here as you're coming down inside of the golf ball, if you look at the butt end of the club, is that pointing inside the golf ball as you're coming down, you're almost guaranteed to flip because you've got to get this club back down on plane. Because if you don't, you're probably going to swing over the top, or you're just going to throw this club into the ground behind the golf ball. And because we're good athletes and we know how to hit the ball, we don't do that. We usually come out of our posture and get this club to come down on plane. And now that we're coming out of our posture, we've got to flip the club to get it to the golf ball. It's either that or it's how you square up the face of the golf ball. Sometimes you might be used to rolling this face over really, really hard and flipping with the hands to square the face. Like I said, there's going to be some of it, but if everything you're doing to roll that face over is just to square up the face, you're going to flip. And you may need to be working on getting that club face to square earlier as you're coming into impact, so that you don't, flip the hands to square it up. So that's going to be both of the moves. So I know that's a lot to think about. There's all tons of things, but you have to look at your swing on camera, look at those pieces that I just mentioned, and see what piece it is for you. So let's say you are somebody, you have no idea. You're looking at your swing and you just don't have any clue. You have a goal, you want to get forward shaft lean or whatever it might be, and you just don't know what to work on to reach your goals. That's what we're here for. If we have an unlimited swing review program, Robin and myself, we both have unlimited swing review program where you can join and you can send us your swings via video, and we'll take a look at them and get you some feedback and get you on the right track. So I know it can be a lot to take on just looking at your swing. So if you do feel you need help with that, you want to check out our unlimited swing review program, go to Get a Review at the top of the page for more information. All right. So Malik says, I've seen this in other players, including Tiger. Please comment. I'm asking a specific question because I believe this whole concept of biomechanics has everything to do with the transfer of weight that initiates the swing where by the rest of the body follows. I have a tremendous ongoing problem with reverse pivot and casting because I'm convinced that I'm unable to transfer my weight. So yeah, every good player has proper sequencing. Every single one. Yeah, sequencing is a huge part of the golf swing, but you can sequence perfectly, and that doesn't mean that everything's just going to happen on its own. That's just part of it. So, but it is a big part of it. You need to be transferring your weight properly. I would recommend doing the step drill. If you go to, there's a great video that's called How to Start the Downswing. Search downswing in the upper right-hand corner of the page. Type in downswing. You can wait till the end of the office hours if you want to do that, but type in downswing. And I believe it's the third video down. It's got yellow lettering in the thumbnail of the video. It says downswing. And in that video, Clay goes over many things, but he goes over the step drill most importantly. And that's probably the best video or the best drill that I know of to really improve proper sequencing, because most people are transferring their weight way too late. It's half the time it doesn't even happen, or it's mainly just the weight isn't getting transferred until the club is already past impact and it's here. They're hanging back here, and it's really just the momentum, the arms that bring everything coming up. you got to have your momentum moving forward. There's a difference between pressure and weight and momentum. You have to have your momentum going to your lead side as you're getting to the top of the backswing, because otherwise then you're not going to have that pressure in your lead foot to help everything to start rotate open. So I look at it just like you're taking a step. It's just exactly what the step drill is, right? When you take a step forward, when you're taking a step forward, the pressure is building in your trail foot. I have pressure going in my trail foot right now. Let me angle this down. So if you look at my trail foot, I'm stepping forward. If I'm on a mat here that's measuring pressure, pressure is building up, but my momentum's going that way. So pressure is going that way, momentum's going that way. Same thing's happening in the golf swing. As I'm going up to the top, my pressure is building. It's building. My momentum is going this way. Now I'm starting my downswing and I'm already here. I'm here. My pressure is now here. I put that step into the ground and now I can rotate open as I'm coming through. I can use the ground and rotate open as I'm coming into the ball. So I'm not sure if you're familiar with what Swing Catalyst is, but Swing Catalyst is especially a mat that has a bunch of sensors in it, and it measures the pressure that you're putting into it with your feet. So they measured a ton of tour players, and they found that at address, they were pretty balanced. The pressure in the feet. At the top of the swing, it was about 75-80% on the trail side. And then into impact, it was about 75-80% on the lead side. And then in the full finish, coming all the way through, it was about 90-95% was on the lead foot. That's the total pressure that you're putting into the ground. So if you think at the top of the swing, you are built up. That doesn't mean that's where your weight is. That means that's where pressure is. Don't get confused about what pressure and weight is. I'm basically stepping that way. So with this step drill, you're putting your feet together, and as soon as you start that backswing, you are starting this step forward. So that's getting your momentum moving this way while your pressure is going that way. It's building up. And then when you start that downswing, that foot's on the ground, and now you've got a lot of pressure on this lead foot. So that way you can be at 80% or so at impact. Most people are nowhere near that. They're probably in the they're probably more in the 50 or 60% range. A lot of people are probably even have a lot more weight on their trail foot as they're coming through. I know most people are definitely not 90% on their lead foot in the full finish. Most people are probably more, maybe just have a little bit more on their lead foot. So think about that. I would definitely be going to that how to start the downswing video. But that's to help you with the sequencing. That's not necessarily going to help you, if you're having trouble squaring the face. It's not necessarily going to help you with that. It's not necessarily going to help you with a slice. It's not necessarily, you got to look at what you're doing at impact and figure in whatever you're doing at impact is making the ball do what it does. So you got to look at what's the problem. What happens when you hit the golf ball? What's the problem? Is it you chunk the ball all the time? The step drill could help with that, because if you're hanging back, you're going to be hitting behind the golf ball a lot. If you're topping the ball, same thing. Topping and chunking are basically a product of the same thing. One you hit the ground, the other one you don't. That's basically the only difference there. But as far as if you're hitting a huge slice or a huge hook, most likely working on that sequencing, it's probably not going to be the thing that fixes that. You need to focus on what the club head is doing, and that's getting the club. If you're slicing or pulling, you need to get that club probably working from the inside. If you're hooking and pushing balls, you need to probably get this club working more down on plane instead of feeling like you're more over the top as you're coming in. You always have to look at what's going on at impact and alter what you're doing with your technique to fix that issue. Don't always look at things as you see a pro do this, you see a pro bends his knee. Well, you have to think about what is that doing to help him hit the ball better at impact. You have to look at it that way. It has to be tied to exactly what's going on at impact. If you look at it in that sense and work from impact out, you're gonna see a lot better results in your golf game for sure. All right, so Robert S says shoulder tilt versus turn. I'm losing my tilt early in the backswing and start having early extension, which gets worse in the downswing. Your thoughts to correct this. So mainly I would be trying to work on that shoulder to shoulder drill that I mentioned earlier in the video. That's putting that club across your shoulders. What I'd be doing is I'd actually really exaggerate it. Really try to get the butt end of the club pointing down toward the ground. Try to feel like your chest and everything is closer to the golf ball as you're going up the top. Really, really exaggerate it. Completely overdo it. Way more than you would actually do in the swing. And if you do that, that'll just make things a lot easier. Because the worst thing that'll happen is that you actually do it too much. And then at that point, all you have to do is ease off it a little bit. So I would just really focus on trying to feel like you're getting lower as you're going up to the top. Your chest and your eyes and your face and everything are getting closer to the golf ball, because that's the opposite of what you're doing. You're doing this, and then the downswing, you stay up and flip the club. Feel like you're doing this, and then you're going down even further and into the downswing. It's gonna feel very, very uncomfortable at first. It's gonna feel like, wow, I'm way too close to the golf ball to hit it. But that's because you're gonna have to change the way that you deliver the club to the golf ball. You're not going to be able to do this same thing that you were doing before, because if you do, you're going to stick the club in the ground way back here. So you're going to have to feel like you're rotating and releasing this club more out in front, and that will get your contact to be quite a bit better. So I'll be looking at that drill that I was talking about, shoulder to shoulder. Search it in the upper right hand corner. Search that video. That's a really great one to help you. And I would actually exaggerate it more than what he's talking about in the video, because that will help you tremendously with that. Everything in the golf swing, it's actually pretty easy to correct about anything in the golf swing. It really just comes down to exaggerating the opposite. So if you're standing up, for example, in your position, if you're doing this in the backswing, you're standing up in the backswing and then standing up further in the downswing. So you're just going like this, and then you're turning through like that. Your shoulders are pretty much level the whole time. What do you do to correct that? You exaggerate the opposite. What would be the opposite of this? The opposite of this would be that. Getting really low as you're coming through, and then getting steeper as you're coming through. Exaggerate the opposite to fix that, and that will help you stay in your posture more, which if you are coming out of your posture, just to tie this to impact, if you're coming out of your posture, you're going to flip the club. You're going to come in and you're just going to go, flip it. And you're going to be adding loft to the face. If you stay in your posture and come through here, you're going to be able to get forward shaftly and be able to release this club more out in front. You're going to be able to get more compression on the ball, and it's going to help you hit the ball a lot better. All right. So Jeremy C. says, I've really seen some great results with TSG program, turning my slice into a nice draw after incorporating the move. However, during the past few rounds practice sessions, I seem to have developed extremely inconsistent contact, majority of the time hitting behind the balls, resulting in blocked shots. I've looked at some of the new vault videos and Clay put out, but any suggestions? So you might be overdoing it now. So he's talking about he's been working on the move. He used to slice it, meaning he was probably coming over the top a little bit. His path was going, assuming he's right-handed, his path was kind of going across the ball, hitting it over the top. Well, now you say he worked on the move, and now he's hitting behind the ball, and when he does hit it well, he blocks it out to the right. So what's probably happening is he's overdone it. He's shallowing out the club too much. This club's working too much from the inside, and it's causing his path to go in to out. So the ball's always going to start mostly in the direction of the club face and then curve away from your club path. Well, if your face is in the same direction of your path, there's not going to be a lot of curvature there. And that's what happens with a blocked shot. A blocked shot, the face is open and your path is also in that direction. So you're probably just overdoing the move a little bit, just shallowing that out way too much and getting that club to work too much from the inside. So I would just feel like you're swinging a little bit more over the top to counteract that. The best way to work on this kind of stuff is to actually go out there and try to hit draws and fades. Try to hit shots that are a little bit over the top or a little bit too much underplaying and hitting everything in between. And that's what's called variability training. It's something that we do in our ball striking masterclass. And what that does is that gives you a great overall feeling of where the middle is. And that way you have a better awareness of what's going on there at impact. So That's what I would highly recommend, is going out there and actually working on swinging over the top and then swinging from way from the inside, trying to hit some balls that start to the right and curve to the left, some balls that start to the left and curve to the right, and then find that in between, that middle ground that's going to give you those straight shots. So the other thing is, if you're hitting the chunks, when you swing more from the inside, you're going to tend to hit more chunks. And the reason for, if you think about it in an extreme sense, so if I'm swinging extreme into out, I'm taking 45 degrees into out. So I'm swinging way into out. Look at where my club is bottoming out. It'd be bottoming out, somewhere right in here. This is way behind where the golf ball would be. If my golf ball is right here, I'm swinging way into out, 45 degrees into out. My club's going to tend to want to bottom out more behind the golf ball. Now, let's say I'm swinging 45 degrees over the top. Well, in that case, I'm going to tend to bottom out after the golf ball. So when you swing a lot from the inside, you're going to tend to hit more chunks because that club's going to be bottoming out sooner. So imagine as soon as you go out there and you work on getting this club to work, instead of so much from the inside, from here, getting this club to work more down on plane like that, that's going to help with your chunks, and that's also going to help you straighten out your ball flight. So go out there, give that a try. Try to feel like you're swinging over the top. Try to feel like you're cutting across the ball a little bit. Put a little bit of a slice on one, and then ease off of that to get your straighter shot. And I imagine that's going to help your ground contact and your slices and blocks. All of that's going to help that quite a bit. All right, so David D says, when Clay talks about placing right hand on club 2 inches, looks like David's cut out before he could put it in. So I'm going to go on to the next one because I don't see the rest of his question. But Jeremy C says, so he just asked about the last question that was he was hitting blocks and sounds like he was overdoing the move. So Jeremy C says, also after reviewing some video footage of his swing, despite having gone through the drills in the lag section, I still seem to be casting and releasing the club early, resulting in a loss of distance. I've been practicing daily with my impact snap for the past month per one of Clay videos, but my straight line release doesn't seem to be improving. Thanks in advance. So, I mean, if you're casting the club, if you're trying to improve your release and you're casting the club, that's going to be the first thing you want to work on, because it doesn't matter if you're shallowing out the club, squaring that face early. If you are releasing this club from the top of the swing, you have basically no chance of releasing that out in front. You're going to release it somewhere around where the golf ball and add loft to the face, and you're going to lose distance because you're not going to be able to get the compression. So I'd be definitely working through the lag drills. There's tons of drills. Try different drills. Not every drill is going to work for everybody. I know you got the impact snap, but try different drills. There's a ton of lag drills on the website. If there was one lag drill that worked for everyone, there would only be lag video. One lag video, that'd be it. And everyone would just do that video, and everyone would have lag, and it would be great. But unfortunately, not every drill resonates with everybody. Not every feel works for everyone. That's why there's a lot of videos on it. Try different drills. If you go out to the range and some drill, it's just you're not seeing any kind of improvement, you're just not getting the feel for it, try a different drill to help you get there. So work through that top speed lag section, and understand that it's not going to happen overnight. It's not going to be something that you're just going to go to the range for an hour and you're going to have lag and you're going to have it forever. You have to keep doing it and make it second nature, make it ingrain it. So that's why a lot of the videos on the website, if you go through our Top Speed Golf system, it tells you to do 1,000 reps, do 3,000 reps. And the reason for that is that that's usually the amount that it takes to make it second nature, to where you do it and you don't even think about it. It's like when you get in your car and you put your seatbelt on, you don't really think about it. You just do it because that's it. Muscle memory is not the right word because our muscles don't have brains. But basically you've built, if you remember the first time you got in the car, there's so many things you got to do, right? You looked at your mirrors, you put your seatbelt on, you made sure the seat was in the right position. You did all these things. There's like a big checklist of things you had to do And it was hard when you first got in the car. You had to think about all those things. And now you get in the car and you do all those things automatically without thought. It's autonomous. And that's what happens in the golf swing. We have to train ourselves to do that thing. And it comes with repetition. And it's just because you start doing something doesn't mean you're not going to have to think about it to keep doing it. You keep doing it and keep thinking about it until it becomes autonomous. And at that point, you can move on to another piece. So, like I said, I think a lot of people think that you just go to the range, like you're going to work on lag this time. Like you can do the whole top speed golf system in a week. Like you're going to go out to the range today and do stable fluid spine. You're going to nail it in that first day. And then you're going to go the second day, you're going to work on the power turn. You're going to have it then. No, it takes time. You have to get through the reps. You got to do it all. We're not crazy. I mean, I know it seems crazy to say do 3,000 reps. And you're thinking, whoa, I can't do 3,000 reps. We're not telling you to go out to the range and do 3,000 reps at one time. Split it up over the course of a few weeks. If you do 100 reps or 300 reps every time you go out, you'll knock it out in a few weeks, and it's going to become second nature. It's going to become very, very easy and comfortable for you. So for some people, it's going to take 1,000 reps, 500 reps, 100 reps. For other people, it might take 10,000 reps. So you have to be your judge of that to figure out, is this something that I'm very, very comfortable with and that I'm getting down? And if it's not, then you need to put in more reps with it. So it just sounds like you need to put more reps in. It sounds like you worked on it before and you got to where you were doing it, and then you just moved on to something else and you didn't take the time to ingrain it. So take the time to ingrain it, make it second nature. And this doesn't mean you have to go to the range and do it either. You can get some reps in at home. Just doing 20, go out there 20 minutes a day and just work on a lot of the drills. You don't have to hit a golf ball to do. Just work on that motion, getting comfortable with that motion, and that'll just make it easier when you go out to the golf course and work on it. So that'd be my best recommendation there. All right. So Todd H says he needs detail on the release. I already talked about that early in the office hour session. And Todd, if you weren't there when I answered it, we do archive these. So after it's a half hour or so, sometimes I don't get on there right after, but my goal after every office hour section is to go in there and get it in the archive pretty much right after I do it. Sometimes I got to go somewhere, be somewhere right after the office hours, so I don't get it done till later, but usually it's going to be right after. So yeah, if you go in there later tonight in the office hours archive, and you can get to the office hours archive by going to the office hours tab at the top of the page and then clicking office hours highlights, and the archive is in there. You can watch the archive, the question from earlier that I answered. All right. So Malik K says, proper sequence. Please comment on the sequence of the arms and the club mechanics following weight transfer. I have tried numerous exercises on your website, but I'm still unable to stop my casting because my weight transfer sequence is not there. I also done the step maneuver, and I'm still unable to transfer the weight properly to allow the club to follow and not lead my swing. So it could also be that you're just doing this with your wrists. You can have the best sequence and weight shift in the world, but if you go like this, you're going to cast the club. So you got to get this right hand out of there a little bit. Feel like really, really try to relax your trail. I'm not sure if you're right-handed or not, but really, really try to relax that trail arm so that it doesn't push the club out. Feel like it's actually in that bent back position. You're at the top of the swing and feel like the club is pushing up against your right hand as you're coming down. You probably just need to work on the lag, because if you are casting the club, like I said, it doesn't matter. Your weight shift, you could have the best weight shift in the world, the best sequencing. Well, actually, that would tie into the sequencing part. But if you are casting the club, you can be doing everything right with your lower body. But if that club is out racing everything, you're not going to get to where you want to at impact. So I'd be looking, if you're seeing that you're just casting the club, you're releasing from the top, work on the top speed lag section. Because the way that it works is, the way that it should happen is it's to start the sequence of the downswing is you're getting to your lead side. It's pelvis. It's from the ground up. So it's pelvis, thorax, lead arm, and then club. And granted, all those are like milliseconds apart, but that's the sequence in which it should happen. If you are going, pelvis weight shift, and then club is going, well, at that point you're already in a position where you're casting it and you're going to be releasing the club early. So you got to be generating that lag in the downswing. So I'd be looking at that top speed lag section. Again, if you want help with your swing, you want me to look at your swing and pinpoint exactly what's going on, all I can do is kind of base it on what you're telling me. It sounds like to me is that you're casting the club. I mean, that's what it sounds like. I mean, you said it you said that you're unable to stop the casting of the club. Just because you get a good weight shift, that doesn't mean that it's going to stop you from casting the club. That's something you got to consciously do. You're probably trying to get things going with your arms and your hands too soon, and you're probably trying to feel. It's a hard feeling to get rid of. If you're used to really trying to generate power with that trail hand and throwing it away early, it's a hard feeling to get around to. So I'd be recommending looking at our top speed lag section, working through those drills, and that will help you the most. That's going to help you to get to where your sequencing is working a lot better in your favor. Look at that casting piece, the top speed lag, and that'll help you. Excuse me. So David D says below left hand. All right. So try to get your question all in one, because if you split it up into several different ones, it puts it in different, and I can't make sense of it. So if you would, try to put it all in one thing so that I can read it. Otherwise, I have to try to piece it together, and that's just not going to work. So I'm going to go on to the next question here. So Alan B says, Clay talks about pulling the butt into the club up to whip the club through during release. Is this a physical conscious action, and how is it achieved? I get this question all the time. Is this a conscious feeling? Is this something that I am actively doing? And the answer to the question is always, it just depends on whether you are doing it naturally or not. If you are not doing it naturally, and you want to do it, you're going to have to consciously do it. It's just like if your natural inclination is to swing over the top. If I tell someone, if they ask me, well, am I going to consciously feel like I need to swing from the inside? Yeah, if you want to change that, you're going to have to consciously make an effort to change it. So it's not a natural thing, some people do naturally do it and some people don't. So that's why you have to look on camera and see what you're doing. Now, to a certain extent, everyone does naturally do it because our arm is going around in a circle, right? So when we're coming down into impact, it's rotating around our socket in a circle. So at some point, the club is moving up. See, I'm getting here. Usually it reaches about its lowest point, about right in here, and then it moves up. So that's where that whipping of the club comes through. Some people it does more than others. We were talking about Rory McIlroy earlier, and he's one of the best at this. He's one of the best at getting those hands really, really low and then really turning them up. So the lower you can get these hands and the more you can turn it up, the more you're going to be able to get this club to whip through. For some people, it's just a matter of this. For some people, it's that. So if you're wanting to get more of that whip as you're coming through impact, then you're going to need to consciously make an effort to do that. But if to a certain extent, everyone is naturally doing a small version of that, pretty much no matter what, whereas some people are doing a lot more, like someone like a Rory McIlroy, for example. So that's going to be the compression line section. That video, whipping the club through like a clothes hanger, that's the video, the drills that you're going to want to go work on to improve that feeling. But that would be an advanced type drill. I think that's even in the level 3. So I would make sure, before you're working on any of that, I would be working on making sure all your other pieces are pretty much in place at a level 1 level first, just because that's more of an advanced drill to really get you to whip the club through a little bit better. And it's very, very difficult to do as well. So I'd recommend there's other pieces that are going to help you most likely a little bit more than what that is. And the range of difficulty on that's a little bit higher. All right. So James Q says, I keep hearing you I keep hearing you should keep the club outside the hands, but just how far outside should it be? So I'm not sure what you're in reference to, but James, can you give me a little bit of clarification on at what point and from what view? That was posted 35 minutes. There's a lot. Most likely, I'm probably not going to get to you in the next 20 minutes if you post that, but hopefully we can. But if you're still on here, give me a little bit more information. You're saying outside the hands. From what view are you talking about, and at what point in the swing are you talking about? And I can help you with that. So James R says, again, that shoulder turn 90 degrees, but sometimes the left arm is not perfectly straight. Any tips on keeping that arm straight? I honestly, it's not important. It's not, you do not have to keep that left arm straight. It's kind of like what I was talking about earlier. You need to think about how that's going to help your impact. There's actually, I have found it just in myself and working with students that the lead arm straight and bent, as long as it's not like this, where you're really like this, and even if you're like this, it can be okay as long as you're kind of straightening out and not casting the club. The only reason I say you don't typically want it like this is because whenever I see it in this position, for some reason, almost every single player I've seen wants to do that with the club just to start the swing. So, but having a little bit of bend in that lead arm is completely fine. Look at Brooks Koepka. He has a bend in that lead arm. Lee Westwood. There's a lot of players. Jordan Spieth. They all have bends in their lead arm at the top of the swing. All major champ, or not least Lee Westwood, but all very high caliber players. So it's kind of a myth that you have to keep your left arm straight. Now, what it can do for you, it's arguable theoretically that you can be more consistent with a straight lead arm. But I've honestly found I've got a little bend in my arm, and I used to think, yeah, I got to keep that thing dead straight. It didn't help me whatsoever. And a lot of people think, well, you got to have a wider arc. Well, if you bend the arm, now your arc is longer. So I would rather have a little bit longer of an arc than a little bit wider of an arc, because you actually get a lot longer arc than you do a wider arc from straightening it out. So I'd much rather have a little bit longer of a swing, longer of an arc. And the other thing is that usually straightens out. It usually straightens out in the downswing is what you'll usually see. And now your arc is wide again, and you've gotten a little bit more speed probably from having a little bit longer of an arc. The other thing is that a lot of people say, and I don't necessarily buy into this, but now you have another lever, and that creates a little bit more speed. I haven't seen any difference in that. Basically, the way it boils down to is I've seen no difference in people, in myself, with working with students, in having a little bit of a bent arm or having a straight arm. And I don't see any point in working on something that's not going to help you. You may as well put your time and effort in things that are definitely going to help you. But if you're really, really focused on getting that lead arm straight, there is a training aid out there that you can put on your arm that will just search on Amazon for it or online on Google. And you can put it on your arm and it'll click. It'll give you an audible click when you straighten out your arm. Like I said, I don't recommend you work on it, but if you find you hit the ball way better with having a straight lead arm versus a bent lead arm, then absolutely, you may as well try to work on getting that lead arm straight. But I've just found in my experience that it doesn't help you at all. But I'd recommend that training aid that clicks. It'll give you an audible click, and then you can just do some slow practice swings where you're really, really focusing. And the moment it clicks, you can just kind of start over and give it another try, and that will help you to help ingrain that. But like I said, it's probably not something that's worth spending a lot of time on. All right, so Robert B says, I am horribly right side hand dominant. Please give the best drill to put lag in my club and or kill my right hand release. So I think the best drill out there is from the Top Speed Golf, the Top Speed lag section. And that's the stick behind the ball drill. And I actually like to do it in a little bit easier of a way because it allows you to kind of swing the club. So the stick behind the ball drill is you have a golf ball right here. Okay. And with the stick behind the ball, you're taking a alignment stick and you're putting it on the club, and you're trying to come down and keep it pointed behind the golf ball as long as you can. And then you release it out in front. So I really like that one, but the reason why I don't like using the stick is when you have the stick on there, you can't really swing through because the stick's going to hit you in the side over here. So what I actually like to do is I like to take the club and choke up on it all the way. So now I have the butt end of the club pointing out of the bottom, and I can come down here and try to get this butt end of the club pointing at the golf ball for as long as I can, and then I can release it out in front. The other thing about this as well is that it helps you to shallow out the club, because as you're coming down, so if I'm right here, as I'm coming down, I'm not going to go like this. I want to make sure that that butt end of the club is pointing outside of the golf ball. So that's going to help me to shallow out that club too, so that I can swing through all the way in the full finish. That's my favorite drill. There's also another one where you take the club up and you set it on your right shoulder. So you try to keep that lead arm straight, and you may need to just hold it kind of in your fingers like this. And this really, really exaggerates that feeling of lag. And then from there, you'll kind of keep it on your shoulder and swing through. And that helps you kind of get that feeling of lag there. Those are my two favorite drills. You can find both of them on the website. Number one, the stick behind the ball drill. You can just search stick behind. It's in the top speed lag section. And then the one I was talking about, putting the club on the shoulder and kind of sliding it on the shoulder, getting that feeling. I believe it's called on the website the world's best lag drill or something like that. Just search world lag, and I believe you'll find that video to come up. It's a really, really quick drill that you can do, and it's one you can do at home. You don't have to go to the range and do that. So I'd highly recommend that one as well. Those are my two favorite ones. But like I said, those drills help me a lot, and I find that they help students a lot. But it may not be the best drill for you. So I'd be working through our top speed lag section, and I'd also be working through our lag vault. If you're not finding anything in the top speed lag section that's helping you, the top speed lag course, then you might want to look at the lag vault and go through some of those drills. I'm telling you, I worked with several students trying to help them get their lag. We'll go over some drills. They'll go out and do them. They'll tell me, I'm struggling with it a little bit. It's like, all right, well, let's try this one. I think that these are pretty good too. We'll go over those, and they'll send me some videos. And I had a student, he went from, he was working on it, and then, we worked on it for a couple of weeks, and then he went out one day with a drill in mind, and he worked on it, and it just clicked that day, and he got it. And he went from casting the club, like this, where the club was going down like this, to doing this. He went from that to that, and he said he gained 50 yards. I mean, he was hitting some of them, he was usually hitting it like 230, 240, and he went to where he was hitting it like 280. He said some of them were even rolling out to 300. So that's how much of a difference it can make if you're really casting the club, just generating some lag there. So I'd be working through as many drills as you can and just finding the one that makes the most difference for you. And then I would stick with that one to keep improving it. All right, so Donald B says, what is optimum relationship of shaft flex and club head weight? I don't really know. I mean, for everyone, it's going to be a little bit different. But we did go to at Ping. When we were at Ping, me and Clay went to the Ping where they make their clubs, their Ping headquarters, and we sat down and talked with their engineers. And I believe they said that the optimum head weight that they found, and this was regardless of flex of shaft and things like that. I believe they found it was about 205 grams, I think. 205, 210, somewhere in there, grams for the head weight. But again, I'm not an expert club fitter. That'd be something to talk to, if you have a Ping fitter near you. I know the guys at Club Champion are really, really great. That'd be a better question for one of them guys. But I do know that Ping, they tested it. They tested a lot of different head weights, a lot in combination with a lot of shafts and things like that. And they found that about 205, I believe it was, don't hold me to that, but I believe it was 205 grams was the head weight that seemed to work well for everybody. They were kind of, they were talking about how they were kind of shocked by the results a little bit. They thought that some people would do a little bit better with different head weights, but so it was pretty much across the board. Everyone did good with this one club head weight, and I believe it was 205 grams. It was something like that. So Stephen B says, drills to keep hips rotating through impact. So there's a lot of them, but essentially the number one thing is you got to get that club shallowing out. That's really the move is going to be the thing. I know it seems like it's indirect. It's not really, it has to do with the hips turning, but it has a lot to do with it, because if you do not shallow out this club, if you don't get this club shallowing out, if you're coming down steep, you're going to do this. And if you're standing up out of the swing, you're not going to be rotating. So you got to shallow out this club, get that club face squaring earlier so that you can rotate into the golf ball with forward shaft lean. The move is the number one drill to get you to rotate your hips. If you are shallowing out the club, and you are getting it to square earlier, you're doing the move pretty well, then I'd be looking at, there's a drill on the website. It's called Kick the Clutch. Just search clutch on the website, upper right-hand corner, type the word clutch. Click, I think it's called Kick the Clutch for better hip rotation or something like that. And it's basically where Clay talks about how he's kicking the clutch in a car. That's the feeling that you want to have, that you're breaking a stick on the ground, and that's really putting so much pressure into the ground that helps you to rotate the body open. Like I said, over-exaggerate everything. The best way to fix anything in golf is to over-exaggerate something as much as possible. So the best way to do that is to really try to feel like you're pushing, you're trying to punch a hole in the ground with your lead leg. Try to feel like you're really pushing into the ground to push your hip back and out of the way. Really, really exaggerate. Try to get those hips to where they're 90 degrees open at impact. Really, really try to completely overdo it. And if you do that, if you're able to do that, then all you have to do is ease off at that point to get to where you want to do, where you want to be. But really the number one goal, if you aren't shallowing out the club, you basically have very little chance of opening up your hips at impact, because most of the time people are going to stand up out of the swing to get that club to shallow out late so that they can get the club to be back on plane. All right. So Mike N says, if we squat on the downswing, should we come out of that just before impact by straightening the front leg at impact? So a little bit. So some of the squatting is also happening in the backswing. It's not like you're going up and then you do this. That's not really how it works. Typically, if you watch most tour players, go download the V1 app and look at some of the tour models that they have on there. Use the app and draw a line on top of their head. What you're going to see with most tour players is they actually get lower. They get a little bit lower as they go on into the backswing. And then about here, they get even lower from there. So they're going here, and then they're getting to about halfway down. They're getting their hands about in this position. And then from there, they're pushing into the ground. Most of them don't actually come up at all. They're just rotating through impact. So you don't want to have the feeling that you're coming up like this, because then you're going to flip the club through there. You want to stay in your posture and let everything rotate open as you're coming into impact. And if we watch my legs here, so try not to step on the golf ball here. So if I'm going up to the top, I'm getting a little bit lower as I'm going up to the top. And then I'm getting a little bit lower in the downswing. And then from there, I'm pushing into the ground. And that's going to push that straightening of my lead leg, pushes my hip up, that pushes my shoulder up. And we were talking about whipping that club up. That's whipping that club up through there. This is an exaggeration, but I just want you to see exactly what's going on. You're not going to have your hands down here, but you want to exaggerate that. And then from there, you're rotating open. Now look how much forward shaft lean I have. And I'm turning that handle down. This is probably more than what you would actually want, but it's an exaggeration of what you want to be doing. And then from there, you're rotating. And really, what you see with most tour players is they don't actually come up out of their posture until their hands are in front of their chest. That's about when you see it. When their hands are right in front of their chest like that, that's about usually when you see them to start coming out of their posture. So, but yeah, that's that straightening of the lead leg. And that step drill is really going to help you to get that working as well. All right, let's keep on moving here. So Howard B says, and I apologize if I don't get to your question, Dave. We got about 6 minutes left, and I don't think I'm going to be able to get to everybody's question. But Howard B says, I'm 65, started at 45. I'm practicing the move. My PGA Tour says I'm too shut and get stuck. He wants me to release earlier and keep the club in front of me with more hands lower in the downswing and release like Jack. And said, I start to release at the top. The move seems like the opposite of that. Are you saying different things? No, it sounds like you're probably getting stuck, meaning that the club and everything's kind of getting stuck behind you. So if you're trying to shallow it out like this, the club and everything's getting stuck behind you. When you do that, then you've got to flip to get through to the ball. So you want to have the club shallowing out, but you want to keep your hands and everything in front of you so that you can rotate into impact. So it sounds like, he doesn't want you. All the move is shallowing out the club and squaring the face earlier. So if you're getting the arms and everything way too far behind you, then that's going to pose a problem that sounds like what you're having. So, you still want to do the move with what he's saying. So get the club to shallow out and get that club face squaring earlier with the hands and everything more in front of your body so that you can rotate into impact there. So it sounds like he's got you on the right track. So I just listened to what he's saying and or she is saying, and that will, as long as you're shallowing out the club, from the positions that they're talking about, you should be in good shape. Norman B says, what are 5 solid golf exercises for men over 60? So I think, Norman, you're asking about fitness. I am not a golf fitness expert. What I would recommend doing if you're looking for stuff on golf fitness, I would recommend finding a TPI expert in your area. TPI stands for Titleist Performance Institute. And basically, they train people to basically know how the body works in the golf swing. And as a fitness professional, someone will be able to, who's taken that course, they will be able to put you through a regimen that will, or give you something to help you with that. So if you go to mytpi.com, mytpi.com, you can actually search for an expert in your area and search for a fitness expert, because there's basically 3 types of TPI certified people. There's golf instructors like myself, there's fitness professionals, then there's also medical professionals. That would be like a physical therapist maybe, or a chiropractor, or even a doctor, a standard doctor. Those would be all the people that would be taking TPI certification. So as a golf instructor, I can give you a screening and I can say, because I'm a TPI certified level 1, I'm also a level 2 power instructor. Basically, I can look and give you a screening and I can say, well, hey, looks like you have a limitation in your shoulder, and I will have to kind of teach around that. But if you want to fix that with your shoulder, you're going to need to go to a medical professional or maybe even a fitness professional to get that worked out. So if you're looking for fitness in golf, TPI is really kind of the leader in that. So I would be looking at My TPI. You can go to My TPI and search for an expert in your area. You can search a city, you can search a state, zip code, just search for that and then select, whether you want a golf instructor, a fitness instructor, or a medical professional. In your case, you're going to want a fitness instructor, a fitness professional, and then you'll be getting a fitness professional that is in your area that is familiar with the golf swing and how fitness relates to golf. So I'm more on the instruction side. Just like you wouldn't go to a fitness instructor for golf tips, you wouldn't necessarily go to a golf instructor for fitness tips. You're going to want a fitness expert on that, of which I am not. I mean, if you can't tell just by looking at me, you can definitely know that I'm not. So I'd be checking out a fitness professional in your neighborhood. All right. So I'm going to try and do one more question here. Ed D says, how should I correct that flip? Doesn't happen all the time, but it's a disaster. Play it over the green when it happens. So odds are you are flipping all the time. It's just a matter of sometimes you make a contact. I've never seen it where somebody comes into impact with great forward shaft lean and then they just flip sometimes. It really doesn't happen. You're probably flipping every single time. It's just a matter of sometimes you make good contact, and other times you blade the ball or don't hit it well for the most part. So, like I said, to fix the flip, look and see if you're casting the club. Make sure that you're generating lag in the downswing. If you're not generating lag, you're going to want, or if you're casting the club, you're going to want to work on your lag. You want to make sure that you're not coming down steep. Make sure you're shallowing it out and squaring that face earlier. That's going to be the move section. Spine angles can also be an issue. If you're coming into impact and you're kind of sliding forward and you're like this, you're straight up and down with your spine at impact, you're going to tend to flip the club. You're going to tend to release the club in the direction your body is pointing. Your spine is pointing. If you're coming into impact and your hips are dead square at impact, it can have to do with the shallowing part, but it also could be that you're just not using your legs and you're just swinging all arms. And if that's the case, you need to work on getting the hips to rotate. So you can search tons of videos on the website for hip rotation. It's how your hands deliver the club to the golf ball, straight line release. Looking at all those pieces to see, you gotta look at your swing on camera, see what's going on camera, and then choose the section accordingly based on what you're doing. And like I said, I know that's a lot to devour and look at. And if you want help with that, we do offer unlimited swing review program where me and Robin, we can look at your swing and tell you this is exactly where you need to start to get rid of your flip. And then we'll give you some drills and everything to get started, tell you exactly what you need to do and start working with you with that. So, but you're also fully capable of going on the website and looking at, if you feel like you can look at your swing on camera and pick out all those things that I talked about and do those drills accordingly, then that's great. That's what it's there for. But we're also here to help you if you need it. So thanks everybody for joining me. Also wanted to mention tomorrow it will not be the normal office hours time. Instead of 9 a.m. Eastern time, we were going to be at 9 p.m. Eastern time. So we're going to be doing one a lot later. We do have members in the West that unfortunately, it's tough for them to join us at 9 a.m. Eastern time, at 6 a.m. their time. We also have folks in Australia that both the times are either noon or 6 in the morning for them, for a lot of the people there. So, we're doing this one later to accommodate some of those. So hopefully y'all can join us and we can have a big office hours tomorrow. So join me tomorrow, 9 p.m. instead of 9 a.m. And I'll put a note on the page so you can check that out here in a little bit. So hopefully everybody has a great rest of the day. And again, I'm sorry I couldn't answer everybody's questions. There were quite a few today, longer questions. So again, I apologize if I wasn't able to get to your question, but come back tomorrow, or other time this week, and we'll get your questions answered at that time. Everybody have a good rest of your day, and I'll talk to you next time. Thanks.